On our channel, what we do is we take a look at companies and we score them based on growth and safety. While there are no guarantees in the stock market, nothing is truly safe. We do want to make sure that we exercise a little bit of caution and that we invest in quality companies that have solid foundations and that can give us passive income as the years tick on. So again, nothing is truly safe in the stock market. Nothing is really a for sure thing. But what we do is we score companies based on their safety metrics. We want to get an edge on the market. We want to know that companies are safe, solid, secure, and will likely make us money far into the future. So we're going to highlight 4 of the numbers that reveal how much risk that you're really taking on when you invest in companies. And these are numbers that we use at Interflame Finance to assess the safety and the risk of certain companies. We're not talking about growth in this video. So if you want to see that video, check out the card linked up above or down in the description of this video below. Today, we are focusing on safety. We're looking at the PE ratio in context. We're looking at debt to equity, interest coverage, and dividends. So before we jump into these metrics too deeply on an individual basis, let's ask the one question: how much risk is hiding behind the price? What's going on with the balance sheet? And can we expect a regular growing dividend check? So one of the most important metrics that any investor will talk about is the PE ratio. And we're going to talk about the context of that PE ratio. The PE ratio is basically a measurement of asking, is the price justified or are you paying a risk premium? So when you want safety companies, when you want to make sure that there's not going to be too violent swings in the price downward if the market tanks, the PE ratio often tells you what you're paying for the current earnings based on that stock price. Next up is debt to equity. How much of the company is financed by debt? If there's too much debt and if the economy goes into a slump, if there's some sort of recession, then having high debt to equity basically means that you're setting yourself up for failure. If the company cannot pay its bills, it's at a higher risk for liquidation, higher risk for bankruptcy, and you're going to lose all your money. So we want low debt to equity. That's very important when it comes to safety stocks. Speaking of debt, we have interest coverage. That's asking them the question, can this company comfortably pay what it owes in its debt? We'll dig into specifics and examples of what that number exactly means. Of all these metrics, it's the least covered, it's the least talked about, but it's very important and it's pretty simple once you wrap your head around it. And finally, we're going to look at different angles of the dividends. Dividend is passive income. It's a cut. It's a share of the profit that the company's making. And we want to know, is that income reliable or is there some sort of warning sign in disguise that's hidden in the dividend numbers? So first up, PE ratio in context. So just a quick reminder, the PE ratio is you take the share price, what the stock is currently selling for on the market, and you divide it by its trailing 12 months earnings per share. That's how much money, how much profit the company is earning per share that you own. So the PE ratio on its own is just a number. There are no labels or units attached to it. What turns it into a safety signal is context. We look at it through 3 different lenses on this channel. So when we are looking at a company, we want to look at that PE ratio versus the sector. Those are all the companies that are in the broad sector. Remember, there are 11 different sectors in the stock market. And then we want to zoom in and we want to look at that PE ratio when we compare it to other companies in that industry. So different industries trade at very different normal multiples. So a PE that's high for a utility company could be actually very cheap for a software company. So just because you know the PE of a company is 25 does not mean that it's cheap or expensive at all. You have to look at that 25 in the context of the sector that it's in and the industry that it's in. And just as important, if not more important, is that PE ratio versus its own historical average. Comparing a stock's current PE to its own 5 or 10-year average shows whether that company is trading rich or cheap relative to itself. So the reason why we use it is that paying an unjustified premium is itself a risk. It leaves less room for error if the growth slows or if sentiment shifts. So if you're paying very high PE multiples, you're basically paying a premium thinking that this growth is going to continue and accelerate out into the future. Obviously, the future is not guaranteed. So if all of a sudden the company hits hard times, the economy hits hard times, if the money dries up, if there's not as much free cash flow coming into the company, the higher that PE ratio has gone, the farther that it can fall. Peter Lynch, one of my favorite investors, points out that the stock price and the earnings per share of a company go hand in hand. If the earnings per share goes up, the stock price goes up. If the earnings per share goes down, the stock price goes down as well. Sometimes there's a slight deviation between the stock price in the very, very short term. And what that means is that people are getting excited thinking that the earnings per share is going to grow. Remember, the stock market is a very forward-looking vehicle. And so if sentiment on Wall Street, if sentiment among retail investors is that this company is going to explode on the upside and actually beat expectations for earnings per share, that will send the stock price up. That will send the PE ratio up. You'd be paying a premium for that perceived eventual growth. If that company does not execute, if that company does not pull out those numbers, while the stock price has that much more to fall. So how do we look at the PE ratio in context when we are making our own investing decisions? Well, let's look at an example real quick. Let's say that the current PE ratio of a company is 28. We compare that against the sector, and that's 22 times. So just like prices, you want the PE ratio to be lower. The lower, the better. So 28 is very high compared to the sector, and it's much higher than the industry, which is coming in at 19. So when we look at this PE ratio of 28, that looks very expensive relative to the sector, which is 22. and even more expensive to the zoomed in industry that it's in, which comes in at 19 times earnings. So on that level, what we would do is we would say, well, this company is trading pretty rich relative to the other companies that are like it. However, if we look at the 5-year average of this company, it actually trades at a much higher premium. On average, for the past 5 years, this has traded at 32x. So today's 28x, 28 multiple, is actually cheap by its own standard. So the main takeaway here is that there is one number, 3 different stories, 3 different things that we compare it to. No single lens tells you whether the price is genuinely safe. We use all 3 together. If we can find a company that we believe in, that we have conviction in, and the PE ratio is lower than its 5-year average, lower than the sector, and lower than the industry, we are very interested in that company and we would dig a little bit deeper. The debt to equity ratio, or the DE, is a very commonly used metric to evaluate the health of a company. You take the total liabilities that the company has and you divide that by the shareholders' equity. Now, fortunately, this is not something that you always have to compute on your own. You can look up many different stock screeners, many different pages for companies, and they will show you what the debt to equity is for whatever company that you're looking at. So this ratio shows you how a company is financed. Is it financed with debt, which is borrowed money with fixed obligations, which usually means there's some sort of interest payment that you have to pay back? Or is it financed with equity, which is a shareholder's own capital into that company? More debt that the company takes on means that more fixed payments must be made regardless of how the business is going. A real liability in the downturn or whether interest rates rise. Lenders want their money back. And so if there's a lot of liabilities, if there's a lot of borrowed money, the company has to pay that back no matter what, whether business is booming or falling through the floor. And so when times are rough, when money is lean, and they have to make those payments, that really is a liability, and that can really hurt a business overall. Now, normal debt to equity varies a lot by industry. Banks, utilities, and REITs typically run very high DEs when compared to software or service companies. So this is also something that we want to compare within the sector. So the reason why we use this at Interflame Finance is that leverage cuts both ways. It can boost returns in good times. Remember, debt is not always a bad thing, but it really amplifies losses and financial stress in bad times. So debt can sometimes be bad, especially when times are lean. You have to make those payments. You are obligated to pay those back. It's going to amplify losses that much quicker. So just a quick illustration of what debt to equity looks like. Company A has $300 million in liabilities, but $1 billion in equity. So you take that $300 million, divide it by $1 billion, and you get a debt to equity ratio of 0.3. Company B also has $1 billion in equity. So it's the same amount of equity into that company as company A, but they have $2.5 billion in liabilities. That 2.5 debt to equity ratio means that for every dollar that company has in equity, there's $2.50 in liabilities. That is a big red flag, a big risk, especially if there's a downturn in the sector, the industry, or the economy overall. Takeaway here is that company B carries $2.50 of debt for every $1 in equity, far more exposed to rising rates or a revenue shock than company A. Now, a lot of people overlook interest coverage, but it's one of the more important ratios out there. Interest coverage is you take the EBIT, which is earnings before interest and taxes, and you divide that by the interest expense. So EBIT is operating profit, essentially. It's what the business generates before financing costs are subtracted. And what we do to find the interest coverage is we divide that by the interest expense, how much money they pay, how much money the company pays in interest. This ratio shows how many times over a company could pay its interest bill out of that operating profit alone. It's a cushion, not just a checkbox. So a rule of thumb, below roughly 1.5 to 2 times is a thin margin of safety. The lower that number is, the less room there is for earnings to dip before debt payments become a problem. So really, the higher the number for interest coverage, the better. Why we use it on this channel is that the debt to equity shows how much money is owed. We look at the interest coverage, how easily we can pay back that money. Different questions, both very important when compared side by side. So company A has $500 million in earnings before interest and taxes, and we divide that by the $50 million in the interest expense. So this company has to pay $50 million just in interest alone. You take that $500 million, divide it by $50 million, and you get an interest coverage of 10. Company B has $120 million in earnings before interest and taxes. Divide that by $100 million in interest expense, and you get 1.2. The takeaway here is that company B's earnings could shrink only slightly before it struggles to cover interest. That is a much thinner margin of safety than company A's, which is a 10 times cushion. So they can pay off their interest 10 times over before really having to worry about how we're going to pay for the interest, how we're going to pay for the debt that we've accrued. Now, dividends are very exciting when you see that dividend check roll in and you see just money coming into your account for owning shares of a company, getting a taste of the profit. It's very exciting, but there's a lot of hidden dangers within that number that we look at Interflame Finance. So there's the dividend yield. It's the annual dividend divided by the share price. It's the income return that you're paid today as a percentage of the price of that company. There's also the dividend growth. That's the rate of dividend increases over time. Faster, steadier growth signals management's confidence. So not only do we like to get dividend payments, we like those payments to grow over time. The unfortunate thing is, and it's a fact of reality, that things get more expensive over time. That's called inflation. So if we get $10,000 in dividends this year, we want more than $10,000 in dividends next year, because next year things are probably going to be 3 to 4 to 5% more expensive than they were. So not only do we want that dividend money coming in, we want that money that's coming in to grow over time. Finally, we look at the payout ratio. Payout ratio is how much dividends are paid divided by the net income or the earnings per share. It's the percent of profit paid out. Too high leaves little margin of safety. So if you see a company paying 90% payout ratio, what that means is they're taking 90% of their profits and they're giving that to us, the shareholders, and they only have 10% left over for growing their business. If the payout ratio is too high, that leaves little room for growth or safety for those dividends to continue or grow out into the future. There's no single lens, no single number that's enough on its own. If you have a very high dividend yield, that's very tempting, but if that's paired with an unsustainable payout ratio, that's a classic warning sign that this dividend is at risk of being cut. We've had a few in our portfolios that actually cut their dividends or eliminated them altogether, and so that cash flow that we were hoping to expect every single quarter, every single year dries up, and we have to make adjustments. And that often comes with a drop in the stock price as well, because people don't want to own that stock if it was a dividend payer and no longer is. So why do we use these numbers? Together, these three lenses separate a durable income stream from one that's quietly running out of room. So let's look at two examples to illustrate what we're talking about. So we have two different companies here, stock A and stock B. One offers a 3% dividend yield, one offers a 7% dividend yield. A lot of new investors are very attracted to that 7% dividend yield. That means, well, if I invest $100 into this company, I'm going to get $7 back, 7%. But if you put $100 into stock A, you're only going to get $3 back. So more people are attracted to that higher yield, that $7 versus $3 in passive income. However, we look at the payout ratio. The payout ratio is what percent of the profits shareholders get in the form of dividends. And we can see that company A, even though they're only paying a 3% dividend yield, they're only using half of their money, 50%, to pay out to the shareholders. There's still 50% left over for other things. Stock B, however, they are paying 93% of their earnings as dividends, which means that there's not a lot of room to grow those dividends. As a matter of fact, next year it might not be 7%. It might only be 6% or 5%. They may actually wind up cutting those dividends because their payout ratio is way too high. They're giving too much of their money out to shareholders. They're not using that much money to grow their business, to advertise and expand and keep their business healthy overall. So the main takeaway here is that stock B's eye-catching 7% yield comes with almost no cushion, a real risk of future dividend cuts. Stock A's lower yield is far more sustainable with that 50% payout ratio. Here's a quick cheat sheet for what these mean. The PE ratio in context. We look at the price of the company versus the sector, the industry, and its own history. We want to watch for rich in all three lenses at once, or on the flip side, we want to see, are there bargains at all three lenses at once? Is the PE ratio lower than its average, lower than the sector, lower than the industry? If you hit all three of those, it's a very appetizing proposition. We look at the debt to equity. How much of the company is leveraged? You want to watch out for high debt to equity versus industry norms. Again, it is industry norms. High DE, high debt to equity in one industry might be completely different than high debt to equity in another industry. We look at interest coverage. That's the ability to pay the interest from operating profit. So watch for low numbers. Coverage below 1.5 to 2x is a warning sign, that is a red flag. The higher the better for interest coverage. And finally, the three lenses of dividends: the yield, the growth, and the payout sustainability, or the payout ratio. Be careful of high yield and high payout ratios together. That means that this company could be cutting their dividends or eliminating them altogether. It's also a sign that the company might actually be going out of business. High dividend yield could mean that they're paying a certain amount of money, but their stock price is crashing. When that stock price goes lower, the dividend yield goes higher. So therefore, high dividend yield sometimes signals a crashing stock price. So hopefully you got something out of this. Hopefully this sheds a little bit of light as to how we operate and what we look at when we score and evaluate companies on our channel. Be sure to subscribe and check out the description for more company breakdowns using the complete growth and safety scores. We appreciate you watching. Thanks for subscribing. We love having you part of the Inner Flame Finance investing family. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your mother-in-law all about this channel. A lot of exciting things in the market, a lot of exciting things to report about. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.